Okay, so we're back. Okay, like I said, we're going to go into Ayurveda, but first, let's talk about exercise real quick. So, when I do exercise, I like to do big movements. They call it compound movement. So, if you want to get fit, don't go to the gym and do like the little things that are just one muscle group. That's isolation, and that's not going to get you fit. That's going to make certain muscles look a little bit better, but that shouldn't really be your goal. Here, we're talking about health. The goal here is health, and if you want health, you need to put pressure on your bones. You need to put pressure on your core. You need to it makes your bones stronger and more dense. You need to use lots of muscles together. This is what the human body is made for. It's not made for like little things like this. It's made for big movements. Okay, so find the movements in the gym that require the least that include the most number of muscles that are moved, the most number of joints, right, that are moved, like a compound movement. And then what I do in the gym is I do the fewest number of workouts that I can. So I either do two or three generally exercises in the gym, and that's enough because I do exercise that work, at least half my body each, right? So squats are the best one. When you do squats and you put a heavy barbell on your back and you put weights on it and you squat, you're using your whole body. You're using your core to stabilize it. You're using your like a little bit of your shoulders, definitely your legs. So squats are like the king of all exercises. If you just did one thing the rest of your life, just do squats, squats and push-ups, squats, push-ups, pull-ups, and running would solve all your problems if you just did those. But let's talk about it. So the queen apparently is deadlifts. Okay, so squats are the king, deadlifts are the queen. A deadlift is where look these up. But a deadlift is where you kind of keep your legs pretty straight and you pull the weight up along like the parallel of your shin, and it works like your lower back, but also like your arms. It's a pull exercise, okay? And you kind of your body's bent over, and then it's like you just kind of do this with your body while you're holding like a weight in your hand like that. Okay, they're beautiful, and you can do those with very heavy weight, but you should work. Um, don't try to hit like a 1 rep max when you work out. Don't try to just like figure out how much you can do with just 1 rep like the max. Don't do that. Instead, make sure you can do at least like 3 to 5 comfortably. Okay, that's really where you should be at because you don't want to get hurt. You want your posture to be good. Instead of trying to do a lot of exercises, try to do fewer and just get good at the posture. The posture will improve over time, and lifting with good posture makes all the difference. Okay, it's actually true. Lifting with good posture makes all the difference. And if you have good posture, you won't get hurt. And if you get hurt, you can't lift, and then you get unhealthy. So you don't want to get hurt. That should be the number one goal when you lift. You're doing what you can to not get hurt, and you're just gonna have a little fun and be loose and be energized by it. Um, yeah, you should never, ever, ever get hurt at the gym. But so you need to have good form, which means you need to lift a lot, like lift less weight than you can and do it more times. And so you do more reps with a little bit less weight and your form will improve. But with squats and deadlifts, like you can lift a lot, right? Lifting, I don't even lift that much. I can do 200, 250 of those. So you should at least be able to do the bar, which is like 50. Then try it with 100. Try 150. You could do somewhere between 50 and 150. I know that. So anyway, we're just talking here. So then push-ups are great, or a bench press, right? Some kind of row, pull-ups. I do what's called a clean and press. So it's like a little bit modified. So it's like a deadlift, but then I throw the weight up here, and then I press it over my head, right? So anyway, it's just something that uses all your muscles. And sometimes when I want to get a good warm up, I'll take like 5 or 10 pound dumbbells, and I'll do like a burpee with a push up, right? So you do a push up, and then it's like a push up with a squat thrust. at the same time. So it's like a squat thrust, a push up, and then you jump up in the air. And then when you land, you go right into a squat thrust push up. And then you spring up and jump again with your arms above your head. And if you do that with like 5 or 10 pound weights, the reason I like that is that it makes it easier for me to push up if I'm holding a light weight for some reason. So what I'm saying is like find movements at the gym that use a lot of muscle groups, like cables. You can use cables for things that uses multiple muscles, and that way you can actually get a good workout with less time. And because there's multiple joints, it puts pressure on your joints, which makes them grow the right ways. Okay, so now let's get into Ayurveda. Okay, in Ayurveda, and one last thing. Now we briefly mentioned fat. Now, I don't avoid eating fat. I think fat is fine. Eating healthy fats is a good idea. In fact, when I drink coffee, I'll put butter or olive oil or coconut oil in the coffee. I'll put coconut oil in my smoothies. I'll eat avocados. Try to have healthy fats. And I don't even, I wouldn't even say that meat fat is necessarily bad for you, but you just have to know what it's doing, right? You need the fire. When you eat fat, you need to make sure that you have a strong fire because the fire will burn it up. Anyway, when you eat fat, it stimulates human growth hormone as well. And when you allow things to burn, when your body starts to burn fat, it can increase testosterone, which is good. And when you have too much sugar, it can increase cortisol. So you don't want to get stressed. So never get stressed. If you miss too much sleep, you'll get stressed. It increases cortisol. Cortisol reduces testosterone. And if you work out too long, your body goes into fight or flight. Your body goes into stress, starts producing cortisol. Your muscle starts to break down. Your body uses muscles as fuel when it's stressed. That's the opposite of what you want to do. You want to use fat as fuel. So when you work out, do it 25 to 45 minutes. Don't do longer than 45. Don't do less than 25. Just do 25 to 45 minutes. Get out, right? Make sure you're hydrated, okay? And after you work out, you should probably eat something within the next 30 minutes. Something good. It's okay to eat carbs. Eating carbs after a gym is actually good. Your body wants carbs after the gym. So I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just saying if your body wants it, just give it what it wants. Eat healthy carbs after the gym is fine. Okay, so now let's get into Ayurveda. Now, one of the main principles in Ayurveda is that the thing that makes us sick is not the presence of bacteria. Bacteria is everywhere. You're in contact with literally, I don't know, millions, billions, trillions of little cells or whatever of bacteria all the time. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And the thing that makes you sick is not the presence of bacteria. It's actually the presence of mucus in the body. When you have too much mucus, mucus is like the breeding ground for bacteria. Mucus is the perfect place for bacteria to multiply. So if you have mucus, an excess of mucus, then you get sick because the bacteria is everywhere. And if you don't have mucus, you won't get sick because it won't get into you and kind of affect you. Does that make sense? So the way to avoid sickness, according to Ayurveda, is to avoid mucus, avoid excess mucus. And I remember when I discovered this was like the first big revelation that I had. And using this knowledge, I've been able to avoid sickness. Now, I didn't really get healthy until I started to embrace these other things about the 4 elements, but I was able to avoid sickness just by doing this part. Okay, so here's what I do if I start to notice that my body is creating more mucus and I might get, if like I'm starting to get sick. I immediately stop eating anything that can produce mucus. Here's what produces mucus: white flour, dairy products, like chemicals that are like preservatives that the body just has no use for. Overeating. What else? Chemicals, overeating, white flour. I think white sugar probably does too. So white sugar, white flour, overeating, things that are like highly processed and just the body just can't break them down or doesn't have any use for them. Yeah, chemicals, dairy. These are the main things that produce mucus. And overeating. Overeating produces mucus for sure. Okay. trying to think what else, but these are the main ones. So if you just simply avoided preservatives and weird chemicals, dairy, overeating, white flour, white sugar, you're gonna avoid a lot of mucus. But sometimes we have those things, right? And so what happens? Yeah, what do you do? So immediately stop doing those. I'll hydrate, and also I'll usually have fruit and coffee by itself in the morning. So fruit, apples especially, like natural and like citrus fruit, like cleanses the body. Fruit in the morning by itself, it just cleanses you out. It's going to bring the mucus along with it. So give yourself permission to have just fruit in the morning. It'll cleanse your mucus. And if you need like an extra little bit of cleansing, coffee, like black coffee, gets the body stimulated, doesn't it? It makes you like release things. Um, I'm not saying that coffee over time is like the right move, but I'm saying that in prevention mode, when you're just like, okay, I need to get this mucus out of the body, drink a little black coffee, it'll get things moving. It'll get the body heat, it'll get the heat going. Do things to get your heat going, like spices. I'll have like hot sauce on whatever I eat to kind of get the spices going, right? This stimulates the hunger. I'll let my hunger go longer. I will make sure to not eat in between meals and to only really eat like, pasta, like, pasta is another one. Pasta increases mucus, doesn't it? So, because a lot of times it's like white flour. So, yeah, I'll stop eating things that put out my fire, and I'll make sure that I only eat things that actually like nourish the fire. And for some reason, soy seems to be like probably just full of chemicals and preservatives, and um, not just preservatives, but pesticides. It's just like full of that crap, and it's like full of estrogen or something. Somehow it just puts out my fire. Soy puts out my inner fire more than anything else, I think. And especially soy from America is the worst. Soy from Europe is not as bad, um, and neither is dairy, really. But anyway, I avoid those things, and yeah, you want to get the fire going, okay? And then just like go for a little bit of walk, get some sunlight, right? Make sure your body's the right temperature. Oh, and so that's what I do to release mucus and get my body healthy when I need to. Um, One more thing that can help you with your immune system. So then when you go into like prevention mode, where you're just like every day creating habits that make your immune system strong, do everything else that I mentioned, especially just be mindful of sugar. Just stop eating sugar. Stop eating processed sugar. It's so dumb. It's literally poison. Like, that's one reason that I'm healthy, is that I'm mindful of sugar. And did you know that sugar and fat together, like fat, when you eat fat, it actually improves your body's ability to process sugar. This is what somebody who's a diabetic has to do, right? They can't eat sugar by itself, but they can eat sugar if it has fat with it, because of something with insulin. Something about insulin, the insulin spike, the fat kind of balances it out somehow. So I actually use this principle. If I do eat sugar, I make sure there's some fat with it. And I listened to Deepak Chopra. So Deepak Chopra many years told me that if you're gonna have a sugary dessert, which sometimes I do, if you have a sugary dessert, don't eat it. Don't eat, first of all, definitely don't eat it with anything like a starchy meal. But really, he said the best way to eat a sugary dessert is to eat it completely by itself. So just make it its own meal. And this is actually okay. If you want a sugary dessert, that's fine. Don't eat it after a meal. Don't eat it tagged onto a meal. Process your meal first and wait till your body has had a few hours in between. And then, as its own separate meal, eat it. Then that's the best way to do it. And then you probably just make sure you have to hydrate so that the sugar can kind of release from your body. Okay. So I'm not saying that I never eat dessert. Sometimes I do. I don't really have a sweet tooth, but I do eat dessert sometimes. And I just eat it by itself. So please just listen to this advice. Please just do this. If you listen to any of my sugar advice, try to eat sugar completely by itself. Don't eat it with a meal. It'll make a big difference. Okay. And if you're looking to just prevent sickness on a daily basis, one way is to give the body alternating hot and cold temperatures. Like, for example, cold showers, or what I do is I go swimming. I go swimming in the ocean. Even in January, right? I'm filming this in January, and even though I'm in Florida, the ocean water is very cold, and most people don't go swimming right now. Most people aren't going swimming, but I do, and the body gets cold. It's very refreshing, and then I'll get warm, and then I'll get cold again. If you make your body warm and cold, it boosts your immune system. So one way to do that is, no matter where you live, even when I lived up north, I did this too. In the morning, first thing in the morning, go outside with bare feet and stand on the ground. Stand on the solid ground, like the earth, with bare feet on, even if it's cold. Okay. The cold temperature will pull out like negative energies out of your body through your feet. Do you want negativities to leave through your feet? And the cold temperature will do that. It actually pulls out your negative energy through your feet into the earth. It's grounding. It's grounding, but most people don't know that it's pulling out negativities, and that it's boosting your immune system, because your body is getting now used to this cold temperature. And if you want a little trick to make it easier, my friend taught me this. Instead of saying, "Oh, it's cold," just say, "It's refreshing." Instead of thinking, "Oh, this is cold," just think, "Ah, it's so refreshing." And then you can handle it. Okay? Get lots of sun, pure water. I already mentioned everything else. When it comes to the only thing to say left pretty much is meditation. We'll do that in a separate video. And here's the thing is, we've been talking about avoiding poisons, but this isn't just about food and water. We need to avoid poisonous environments and poisonous people and poisonous thoughts, really, because nothing, there's really no such thing as a poisonous person, right? Everybody's pure on the inside. But sometimes people aren't good for us, and or like, especially there's things that we can avoid, right? Like, let's talk later about interpersonal relationships, how to deal with people that are difficult, and how to make them into a friend and make them into an ally and into a spiritual teacher. That's really what we should be doing, but we need to protect our mind first. And one way to start protecting your mind is protect it from negative content, right? If you're watching Netflix, or if you're watching YouTube, or watching Instagram, or whatever you're doing, try to protect your mind from taking in things that are meaningless and distracting and negative. Negative is the first wall. Like, don't allow something in if it's going to disturb your mind. But things that are distracting and meaningless disturb our mind too. They just don't feel as bad. They feel benign. They don't feel so bad. But we need to learn to guard and protect our mind from everything, including distractions, including things that are meaningless, including meaningless gossip, including trivia, including things that have no significance in our life. Okay. So I'm not saying don't use social media. I'm saying protect your mind and make sure that you're not getting disturbed, and just try not to do like the mindless stuff, like the mindless scrolling, the mindless viewing, the mindless consumption of content. It's really just wasting your life. If you're watching this, you have some goals and visions. You have something deep that you want to accomplish. You want to contribute to society. You want to help people. You want to rise to your highest level, maybe, or just actualize your full potential. You're not going to do that while you're watching a show or while you're flipping through content on social media. Okay. That's 95% of that time is wasted. You're getting something out of it, but you're also wasting time. So instead, take time for yourself. Take time to be creative. Creativity requires space. Okay, give yourself space. Stop being distracted. Give yourself time where you're not doing anything else, so that you can journal, so that you can write, so that you can read. Reading could be negative consumption. Like, reading can be too much, but sometimes little bits of like spiritual reading can be helpful. So yeah, give yourself time to create. And then, of course, with that, then you can start to meditate. Okay, then you can start to meditate. And when you meditate, you just kind of, you get in touch with yourself again, get in touch with your breath, and you'll learn to focus on it. And then you'll stop looking outside yourself for happiness because you will have already found it. We need to just admit it to ourselves. When we're looking at content, other places, we're looking for happiness outside ourselves. We didn't maybe realize that that's what we were doing, but that's what we're doing. We're looking for happiness outside of ourselves. Right? It's so silly. And the thing is that it doesn't work. It's not actually happiness. If it was happiness, then you wouldn't have to look again tomorrow because you'd still be happy. But actually what it did was it just distracted us from our pain for one moment. But it makes us addicted and hooked on this new source of happiness, but it's not really a source of happiness. Okay? So we need to start to find something else that can give us happiness. And then when we do, we'll be less interested in other things. So if you want a good source of happiness, the simplest way is get your body feeling good, eat healthy, and go to the gym. Then you'll get a good feeling going on inside the body. Get the right amount of sleep, right? Sleep 6 to 8 hours. You'll be feeling good. The gym plus good food, plus time to yourself, plus time in nature, plus the gym, it gets you feeling good. Okay, then you can take it to a little bit higher level by meditating. And then when you meditate, your mind starts to let go of things and it starts to see things. And the first thing that you'll see is the breath. And you want to just focus on the breath. And by focusing on the breath, literally you let go of everything else. Okay, and then when you stay with that presence that you cultivate, that even takes you deeper. And from that state of presence, you just naturally feel peaceful and happy. Okay, and then you're like, oh, you know what? That show is just not really the food. That's like junk food. I used to be addicted to junk food. I'm not addicted anymore. Now I got something real. I got real food now. Okay, so we'll do meditation in the next video. Hope you enjoy. Have a great day. Write down some key highlights from this video. Make a decision to practice it for the next week. Practice it strongly and don't let yourself forget. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.